If the dark keeps you honest, chain the subscribe, bruise the like, and confess in the comments, because once you see this, you'll check every mirror twice. Police lights bled blue through cheap blinds as the evidence tech rewound the clip again. On screen, a narrow apartment hallway, a thrift store mirror, and a woman's reflection that lagged half a heartbeat behind her real movement. No jump scare, no filter, just a wrongness that made the room feel colder. The woman was Erin Vale, 29, night shift dispatcher, the kind of person who knows to trust a bad feeling. She'd set up budget cameras after a break-in next door. She told officers she first noticed it at 2:11, when she raised her left hand and the mirror raised its right, late, like someone copying her. The officers did what they do: clear the unit, check locks and windows, test smoke detectors. Nothing. Erin kept insisting something was off. "There's a draft," she said, palm to the mirror's edge. "It's like air coming from behind it." One cop shrugged, "Old buildings breathe." But the tech pressed a knuckle to the frame and listened. Hollow. Not drywall, space. They paused the footage on a reflection detail everyone else missed. The door behind Erin showed as open in the mirror, even though it was closed in the hall. When the tech split the frames, the misalignment ran like a fault line from ceiling to floor. Erin called her landlord, voicemail. She grabbed a screwdriver anyway. They took the mirror down. Behind it wasn't paint. It was plywood, fresh, pale, screwed into studs with machine precision. Along one edge, a felt-lined slit, like a vent. Nearby, pinholes clustered at eye level in a grid exactly where a face would be. The draft sighed through, chemical and cold, carrying a smell of bleach and copper. Erin's breath hitched. The tech mouthed, "Don't touch," and started the body cam. They backed up, gloves on, phones filming. Erin read the heads of the screws like a code she had to break. First screw. Warm from friction. Second, falls, clinking on tile. The third stuck, then gave with a squeal that made everyone flinch. The fourth turned and turned while the draft grew stronger, a whisper of unseen volume ready to spill. When the panel loosened, Erin slid her fingers under the edge. "Ready?" No one answered. She pulled. The plywood came away clean, light spilling into a low, narrow shaft braced with scrap wood. A short ladder dropped into a crawlspace big enough for a person to wriggle through sideways. On the far side, half hidden behind insulation, a camera lens stared back, black, unblinking, perfectly aligned with the pinholes. Below it, a cheap camping mat, a crumpled energy bar wrapper, and a spiral notebook flecked with sawdust. Erin reached with the screwdriver, hooked the notebook by its wire, and dragged it up. The cover was greasy, the corners mashed. She opened to the first page. Sharpie letters stamped the paper in tidy, obsessive lines. "Keep her centered. 2:11, hand lag okay. She thinks it's the mirror." She flipped to the next page, and her face changed. The paper held a Polaroid of her sleeping on her couch, taken from the hallway, cropped with care. Taped beside it was a note in block capitals, the ink pressed hard enough to scar the cardboard. "Basement key, apt 2B. Door behind furnace." The tech swallowed. The officer radioed for another unit. Erin looked from the picture to the shaft, then to the mirror hooks waiting like open hands. "This isn't a glitch," she whispered. "Someone has been standing on the other side." Boots pounded in the stairwell as backup arrived. The hallway felt smaller, shared. Every surface had watched her. The team moved as one, tape the opening, clear the landing, sweep the basement. The landlord still wasn't answering. The night smelled like rain and cut wood. At the bottom of the stairs, the concrete floor gleamed with damp. They found the furnace, the dented water heater, the faint hum of a building pretending to be ordinary. Behind the furnace, half hidden by conduit, sat a steel door Erin had never seen, a maintenance panel that wasn't on the blueprint the officer pulled up on his phone. The handle turned without effort. The officer looked at Aaron, then at the tech, then back to the door. He pulled it open, and the dim light spilled over a corridor of raw studs and black plastic, leading straight toward her line of mirrors. And at the threshold, on a nail, hung a single key tag stamped, 2B. They stepped inside. And when they raised their lights to the end of that corridor, what they found changed everything. The air inside the hidden corridor was thick, stale, humming faintly like old wiring behind a wall. The flashlight beams cut through hanging cobwebs, landing on something that looked almost mechanical. Every few feet, a small square of glass reflected their light, compact mirrors mounted to metal brackets, tilted inward as if aiming at anyone who walked through. Erin's breath misted in front of her. This wasn't built by accident, she whispered. The officer ahead of her ran his beam along the floor, bare plywood, scuffed by shoe prints going both directions. Not the maintenance crew's boots, smaller, lighter, someone who'd moved here often. Looks like he's been crawling in and out, the tech muttered. Halfway down the passage, they found a makeshift workstation, a wooden stool, a cracked monitor, and a laptop powered by a portable battery. The screen glowed blue with looping security feeds of multiple apartments, some clearly Aaron's building, others not. Each window showed a hallway or living room, some with people moving, others empty but recording continuously. Dozens of thumbnails lined the bottom, apt_2b_feed 1, apt_3a_feed 2, and so on. The officer scrolled through and froze. Feed 6 showed Aaron's living room right now. The live timestamp matched his watch. "He's still watching us," he whispered. Then, behind the scrolling code, a small text box popped up automatically, just 3 words typed in white, "Turn around, Aaron." The hallway went silent. Aaron's flashlight trembled against the plywood. They turned in unison, but the corridor was empty. No footsteps. Just the quiet hum of static echoing from the laptop speakers. The officer yanked the battery cable free. The screen went black. "We're sealing this whole place," he said. Back upstairs, detectives canvassed the apartment. No forced entry. No new prints. But on Aaron's phone, a notification appeared, "New shared album, Mirrorview_2b." The thumbnail showed her own hallway. Taken moments earlier from a slightly higher angle than her cameras could reach. By afternoon, the city inspection team arrived. They discovered that the crawlspace led to a bricked-over storm access tunnel dating back to the 1950s, one that once connected the apartment row to an abandoned utility substation. Whoever used it had reopened the route from below, slipping between buildings unnoticed. The notebook recovered from the shaft held more writing, shorthand notes on tenant schedules, names, routines. On the last page, a smudge of gray fingerprints covered a short message in shaky block letters. "Frame 3 active, keep her facing the mirror." That night, after the police left, Aaron stayed with a friend across town. She couldn't sleep. Every reflection in that unfamiliar apartment caught her eye, the microwave door, the TV screen, even her phone display when it dimmed. At 3:14 a.m., a low ping from her device startled her awake. A video file had appeared in her downloads folder with no sender, no title, only a timestamp, 3 hours and 14 minutes. When she pressed play, it showed her sitting exactly where she was now, on the couch, hand to her chest, eyes wide. But the image wasn't her selfie camera. It was filmed from behind her shoulder, and in the reflection of the television, her mirror image smiled first. Before the clip ended, 3 quiet knocks came from somewhere off-screen. And beneath the sound, faint but clear, someone whispered her name. Outside, security cameras caught a shadow crossing the building courtyard, thin, deliberate, carrying something rectangular and wrapped in black cloth. By sunrise, Aaron's apartment complex would wake to find one more mirror missing from her hallway wall, and another tenant's gone from across the street. And on every door in the row, a strip of masking tape appeared overnight, each marked with the same word in careful handwriting, watched. But no one saw who left them. Morning bled gray across Milwaukee as detectives sealed off the street. News vans crowded the curb, their antennas cutting the fog. The headlines hit fast: hidden surveillance network found beneath apartment row. Reporters called it the mirror case. But inside precinct files, it carried a colder title: Operation Reflection. The crawlspace had yielded more than walls of glass. Behind a false panel near the end of the tunnel, they'd found a narrow stairwell leading to an underground maintenance room that hadn't been touched in decades. Inside were tools, wiring coils, and a wall covered in pinned photographs, dozens of tenants frozen mid-gesture, brushing teeth, opening doors, changing clothes. Every photo was stamped with timestamps and mirror coordinates. The detectives worked in silence until one of them noticed something off. Every subject had been recorded from a slightly different angle, but in each frame, a faint silhouette appeared behind the reflection, blurry, head tilted, always watching. When they cross-referenced the images with the building's tenant registry, they realized one tenant's name repeated across multiple units, dating back almost 12 years. Same birth date, different last names. The archived leasing files identified him as Nathan Cole, a maintenance worker who'd vanished in 2013 after a fire in a nearby storage facility. His personnel record listed optical wiring technician as his specialty. By late afternoon, police tracked a trail of electricity theft to a boarded-up photo studio 6 blocks from Aaron's apartment. Inside, dust thick as powder coated the floor. Along one wall stood rows of vintage cameras with their lenses pointed toward a single large mirror. In the center, an office chair faced a console displaying feeds from multiple apartment hallways, the same ones from the crawlspace. A mug sat beside it, coffee ring still wet. Then the monitor flickered. The feed changed to live footage of the studio itself, from behind the detectives. They spun around, but the room was empty. The camera must have been hidden in one of the mirrors. Hours later, when technicians disassembled the console, they discovered a small transmitter still active, sending files to a private cloud server. Among the recovered data were hundreds of short clips labeled mirror tests. The final file, time-stamped 3 hours after the police raid, showed Erin's face illuminated by her phone screen in a hotel room. She never gave that location to anyone. She was staring into the bathroom mirror. In the video, her reflection didn't move for the first 2 seconds. Then, without sound, it lifted its hand and wrote something across the glass in fogged condensation: "Found you." That night, her phone powered off by itself. When detectives returned to the studio the next morning, all the mirrors were gone. Only one message remained, etched into the dust on the floor near the chair. The camera was never in the room. Erin relocated again, under protection, and every reflective surface in her new apartment was removed, except one small security monitor bolted above her door. Weeks later, the monitor's standby light began to blink. Each pulse matched the rhythm of breathing. The case file closed without arrest. The tunnels were filled with concrete. But building inspectors still report faint audio under the walls at night, soft clicks, like shutters opening and closing. And sometimes, when new tenants move in, they say the mirrors hum faintly after midnight, as if trying to tune to a channel that's already watching them. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for what's next, hit subscribe, before your reflection does it first.